This is the Oz Report for November 21st, 2025. And before I jump into the Oz Report, I just quickly want to say to everyone on YouTube and on the podcast, thank you very much for voting for me. I indeed got voted with huge numbers onto CSM 20 and can serve my third term. Thank you again. Very humbled, very honored. And if you have any feedback or input for the work that I do, ping me on Discord and you can pitch any change to me that you want me to take to CCP. All right. Now, what is going on in EVE Online? And this week, it has been huge. Obviously, we have the Catalyst expansion hitting, lots of new content. We have a massive sale going on right now with the 20 to 28% off Plex. We have a lot of people coming back to EVE. It feels like a lot of communities that I'm in, I'm seeing people coming back from long hiatus, people coming back to mine, people coming back to check out what's going on in null politics with pandemic horde collapsing. And so overall, lots and lots happening in EVE Online, and that's very, very positive to see. And that's why the first thing I want to talk about today is the overall trading volume. So if we go to my Oz dashboard here at the Oz.space, you can see the market cap, which is the amount of trade that is going on this week. And you can see that number at just under 200 trillion. And let's just say that is almost twice as high as we have seen it in recent quarters and years. And so that is fantastic to see. Maybe finally we'll see that ISK velocity graph turn around this month in the monthly economic report. And, a lot of that is driven, number one, by the big Plex sale that is going on right now. By the way, if you want to take advantage of that and you want to support my content, use creator code Oz either in the Marquee Dragon store or on the EVE store. So that has a lot to do with it. We've seen CCP saying no to FOMO in their dev blog in August. And since then, we haven't seen any really, really good sales. And I feel like this 20 to 28% off Plex is the first sale where people are now getting impatient. People are not sure what sales are coming back and whether they're really, really good sales coming back. And they're taking advantage of this now. That is one thing that is driving trade up. The second thing, obviously, the Catalyst expansion. If we're looking at what items are trading high, a lot of it has to do with the expansion. Sisters of Eve net resonators to build the new ships. The Odysseus, for example, is a very coveted ship. A lot of people are trying to build it. So there's there's over 1 trillion traded there every day in net resonators, or every week in SOE net resonators. Then you have all the mining equipment that is trading at very, very high volume. So ore strip miners alone trading at 600 billion this week, which is massive. Also miner 2s, survey scanners. So all of that mining equipment is being traded, and all of that ore that is being mined will be hitting the markets as well, probably driving prices down. They haven't yet, I should say. If we look at mining prices, going back to our dashboard here, if we look at minerals overall, actually this week they're up 1.2%. So that is a good indicator of, yes, volumes are up. So, a lot of minerals are hitting the market, but a lot of stuff is also being built. New ships coming out, a lot of minerals and other raw materials are being sucked up. And so overall, it's more or less a wash. If we look at, I want to go into the gaming client, into the client right here, and look at the minerals in detail. So if we look at Isogen has been dropping. Isogen has been now injected back into HiSec via Omber and Kernite sites, which were removed 5 years ago in the mineral redistribution. And so we're adding Pyrite, Isogen, and Mexilon, a little bit more of it back into HiSec. So it will be interesting to see whether that has an effect. This week for Isogen, not so much. It started with dropping a little bit, and then it started rising again. So it's more or less a wash between increased demand and supply. Megasite has been dropping and is continuing to drop. Maxilon, as I just said, now more of it available in high sec, but also being immediately bought up as much as it's been injected. So there's no big price drop there. Morphite is flat. Noxium was not injected back into high sec. In the release notes, CCP said they want Noxium to be a low sec ore, right? So this was is at 52-week low prices right now. Noxium very low. Pyrite is dropping finally. So, part of it might be the Umbersites. Part of it might be people, actually going out there to mine. And I think a lot of speculators had pyrite, were long on pyrite because it was going up and up and up and up. And now, with the mining expansion coming out, with more people mining more minerals, hitting the market and these new sites, I think a lot of people are finally selling more pyrite, and the availability of pyrite is much better now. Tritanium about flat, and Zydrine continuing to drop, kind of like Noxium is. So that's the deep dive on the mineral side. Let's quickly talk about Plex and Plex adjacent items. All right. Plex is down 1.4% this week. That's no surprise. We have a massive sale going on, and there's a little bit of free Plex being given out. And so overall, I think, Plex is trading at 52-week average, although, this is only referring to since global Plex market introduction. So this is not quite 52 weeks, but since then, about even and lower than last week. Skill injectors also down 2%. Part of it is dropping Plex prices makes skill farming cheaper, but then again, also probably a lot of skill farms just liquidating to do other stuff in the expansion. And interestingly enough, skill extractors are up 2%. And that almost definitely has to do with all Omega accounts getting 7 days of free Omega, and everyone else getting 7 days free Omega for 10 Plex, which is next to nothing, and a very, very cheap way of getting Omega for 7 days to try the expansion. So that means a lot of dormant accounts being awakened, and therefore also being able to be extracted. And certainly that is indicated here by an increase in skill extractor pricing. And probably, if we look at the volume graph, probably also an increase in volume that we're going to be seeing here. All right, that is Plex and Plex adjacent items. By the way, hypercores still holding up. Hypercores are fairly expensive, and more expensive than they have been in the long term. Let's see here. We look here. So hypercores in sale territory. To be completely transparent, I sold some because on one of my accounts I needed additional liquidity, and so I have liquidated some. It didn't hurt the price, apparently. It was only about, I don't know, about 15 billion worth or so. But, as you guys know, I've said it many times, I'm sitting on a big mountain of hypercores, and so for most of it I'm going to hold out and hope that it will be still going up in price even more. All right, going back to our dashboard and my show notes. One thing I want to mention is R4 Moon materials. So finally, we're seeing R4 Moon materials going up in price again. And so that has to do fully with atmospheric gases. So this new ore that was introduced, prismaticite, you don't know what it's going to refine into. That's the big new thing about it. But you can control what it is refined into via reactions, and those reactions use atmospheric gases, which is an R4 moon material. And therefore, finally, after a long time, after R4 moon materials were ravaged by the introduction of Metanox moon drills, we finally now see an increase in price. And let's hope that at least atmospheric gases are seeing a comeback here, and possibly also that that they will also have similar things, similar uses in the game for the other R4 moon materials. Fluid Void in chat is saying, isn't it weird that they only gave one of them a purpose? I do think so. It's kind of random that only one of them gets a purpose, so I hope that the other ones get as well. Otherwise, it does feel a little bit out of balance. Why would they pick atmospheric gases? I don't know. But CCP has done that before as well. Let's also quickly mention salvage materials. So salvage materials are up a lot this week, 79%. And we know this often has to do with very large players, buying up and controlling this market. So it's always, take it with a grain of salt. But if you're looking at rigs, for example, T2 rigs up 21% as well. So there's some major market movement going on here, and I presume this is heavy manipulation, because I think natural, yes, there is additional pull and demand for these now, but not more than other things necessarily, right? It could be that people are rigging the new ships, and sure, there's more need for rigs typically than modules, because modules can be repurposed. But this is quite a big move, and so be careful in the rigs and salvage markets. There's some big manipulations going on, and yeah. Fluid Void in chat is again saying all T2 rig Tartaras and drones got destroyed though. Sure, possibly it's based on structure rigs, and just destruction doesn't necessarily already create a lot of demand unless people are putting them back up. But I'll take your point. It's very much possible that is a big factor in that. All right. Let me just check my notes. Overall, I just want to say also a quick word on price levels. All right. So if we're looking at price levels overall, all items, ships, modules, raw materials, everything, we're at a price level that's about 10% lower than the 52 average. And that is big. Okay. We've seen moon materials drop in price significantly. We've seen minerals drop in price significantly. We've seen salvage drop in price significantly, except for this week, because of the new exploration content and sites. And so overall, there are very few raw material categories that are more expensive than they were. And so you are seeing that trickle down. It doesn't translate directly into cheaper ships, because then, especially the more expensive ships also have a big LP component through the net resonators or other or through their BPCs, etc., etc. But things are getting cheaper, and overall, if you compare it to the last years, the price levels have been regulated quite significantly, and that's not good for everyone. So I'm sure people would like to make more money moon mining or mineral mining or asteroid mining, or exploring. So it's not great for everyone, but also people wanted cheaper ships. People wanted cheaper prices in EVE Online to increase their purchasing power. And so overall, this is a fairly good development that also requires a lot of balancing on CCP's part. So make sure you voice your opinion, be respectful, but CCP is open to feedback. They do read Reddit. They listen to the CSM. So make sure you either, post on Reddit, you send me your feedback as your CSM, and you make sure that your voices are heard. Let us know, what you're doing right now in game, what is fun for you, where you feel like you're making enough to spend enough, what things feel too risky or too expensive to you, and we'll get there. I think Eve is in a very good place right now, and I want to make that even better in my third CSM term. All right. We're going to leave the Oz report as that. I know I get a lot of comments often on YouTube that say, hey, Oz, you didn't speak about X, you didn't speak about Y. I purposely want to keep this to 10-15 minutes, so it's not a huge, long thing for people to listen to, so people can listen to it quickly. And if you want to, talk about other things or longer stuff, then just join us live on Twitch every Saturday, usually, sometimes on Friday like today, and we can do it there. All right, we're going to return to the regular stream, and I will catch